Maybe I haven't been forthcoming enough. Maybe I haven't been. Maybe I have. Maybe my cousin has been, and maybe my uncle hasn't. Okay. Well, as much as I really don't want to have to go other places, sometimes you got to. Sometimes you have to. Now, one of the reasons that I find myself doing, well, okay. Let's just call this one, why are we making the book, or something along those lines, like why am I writing it? Why do I feel like I'm writing this book? Dude, I feel there's something in my eye. Okay. Why do I feel like I'm writing this book? There's a lot of reasons, and as I've gotten older, as I've done it more and more, the more of the reasons start to pile up. Which is separate from why am I fucking filming myself doing the book. I don't know, but I'll get into that in a little bit. This will be a video essay, if you want to call it that. I haven't done these in a while. What did I call it? Writer's Thoughts or something? Inner Thoughts series. So, we'll go to the beginning and then we'll move our way forward. When I first started this, it was just because it just happened. I just remember I have the fucking papers of just me saying, wouldn't it be cool, right? I never really got to experience in depth when it comes to fantasy and stuff like that, but I was always a little curious about it. Now, I didn't really discover fantasy until whenever Lord of the Rings came out, the movies. It was the first time. Like I was not a book reader. I did not enjoy fucking, you know, the Wheel of Time series as a child, or Lord of the Rings, or fucking whatever other fantasies existed at that time. I'd never even heard of it. It was not in my wheelhouse. I was outside all the time playing war, you know, like pretending to be in combat, or Navy, on this my friend's porch. We would pretend it was the ship, and during World War II, and we were sailors, and Pearl Harbor attack. We would simulate shit like that, or a little bit later on, Star Wars combat, when Battlefront had come out, the video game. And we would play cars in my yard, which was big, just dirt, and we'd make the roads and make cities and stuff like that. And that's what we did. You know, the original SimCity, Call of Duty, and fucking Star Wars Battlefront. We would just pretend to do it in real life. And that's what I grew up doing, and then we got into hockey, right? And so we'd play that too. So I didn't have any time for book reading, or for fantasy shit, or storytelling things, and you know, I hated all that. I did not like book reading. In my mind, that was something that was done at school because you were forced to do it, and you just pretend that you gave a fuck till you got home. That's just kind of the way it went. Now, it wasn't until my later years, I graduated, that I really started to think about it. But I had still never read Lord of the Rings. I think I finally read Lord of the Rings a few years ago. You know what I mean? I'm 31, so... And same with like other fantasy. I never really read it before. But the easiest way to find fantasy was in video games. And so I was in high school, and I discovered, based on a friend giving me his Xbox, the original Xbox, a game called Morrowind, to which I played the fuck out of it. I found it to be a bit much, but I just enjoyed walking around. I would just have like a shield and a spear, and I would just walk around. It's like, oh my god, oh my god. And I'd listen to the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour on tape while I was doing that. And that's just like, I mean, that's the best I can paint my past with fantasy. And to me, you know, it was in video games, and video games weren't really an art in my mind. It was just like a thing to do that was wasting time. I still to this day don't see a lot of merit in the art of video games. I can understand why you'd see it, but to me, you know, I don't know. There's something different. Now, going forward, after graduating high school and all that shit, whatever that age would have been, I think I graduated at 17, and then I turned 19 a few months later, or 18. I kind of was adrift for a while, you know, as you do. I tried this, I tried that, and I just found myself being alone and being sad. I lost kind of myself. I tried to stay afloat, but I felt like I was being forced to go certain ways because this is what you're supposed to do. You know, get a good job and fucking doing this, doing that, just pleasing people. It wasn't until whatever year that I met Billy and Kevin. I always forget what year that was. 2013, 2012. They'll be able to say with like, he'd be able to attack the exact fucking day. Now, it wasn't until I met them, that's when I was kind of like showing interest in music. I didn't really know how to do it, but I was like, that'd be kind of cool. You know, music. I don't know why. I think because I used to fantasize, like, wouldn't it be cool to be in a band for years, but I just never really fucked around with it. But meeting them allowed me to open my mind to music, and we'd smoke a fuck ton of weed and stuff, and so that would kind of make me think a little bit more. And it was because of that. God, how old would I have been? Maybe 20, 21 is when I finally was like, okay, let us see what this fantasy has to do. Because I'd passively watch Adventure Time, I'd passively play like Oblivion and then later Skyrim. I would do those things, and I would like the elements of it because it wasn't necessarily the lore. And this is probably where I'm a little bit different than most fantasy fans or people that like, you know, Dragon Age or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or whatever fucking famous fantasies and sci-fis there are. I don't give a fuck about the lores of those worlds. I really don't. You know, like, I could take or leave Dragon Age's, like, dumping on their own lore. I don't really give a fuck. Because I wasn't there for that. You know, I wasn't there in Lord of the Rings for the extensive history and all that stuff. I was not. To me, what I enjoyed about the fantasy that I found was the place in which it was. Not how it got there, but just the place that it is. And so that to me was always the fascinating thing about it. And I kind of wanted to do it my own, because I don't think I actively knew this, but subconsciously I was like, I don't agree with all the story of it, but I do agree with the place. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm playing Dragon Age, I'm not reading anything. I don't give a fuck. I'm not paying attention to the politics. I don't care. You know, I don't really give a shit about the story. I'm not there for that. You know, there's something more to it for me. And I don't know if a lot of people understand that, because everyone seems to get so caught up in like the stories and shit. I'm like, that's not, I don't know. I can't explain it better than that I'm not here for the story. That's something that's a filler for me. Because no story is ever going to be good enough if I am going to like the story. Now, as I was creating this world, it was fun, right? I got to like just imagine, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if there was an island and there was these forgotten people and there was a conflict and they were destroyed, and once it was a beautiful place, and you know, just the humble beginnings of the book. And I just really was exploring it, and it was amazing. And I said, there's this kid and he's gonna like go on an adventure and stuff, and very, very humble, you know, there was not a lot going on. And even in the time, it felt like the world was in black and white, and it was giant swaths were just this white area, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't painted yet. Imagine walking in an unpainted world, you know? That's just kind of what it felt like writing it, and then eventually I invited people in, and then it became what it became. So, the first reason I made fantasy would be curiosity. So that was the first step into what is fantasy and why we're doing it, and that curiosity. I like these aspects of all these fantasies that exist in the world, but they're not good enough for me. None of them are. Why? Well, let's make our own. And so it was just a curiosity thing. And as I was getting on, it started to pick up. It started to kind of become something more than I had realized. Like, oh wow, I guess I didn't go into it deep enough, or I guess I need to explain a little bit more, or there needs to be more things happening because this doesn't make sense. And then it started to become like a job. Then it became like, okay, like now fucking what? What do I need now? And so I'd have to sit and think like, okay, well, like there's this group of people and maybe these ones don't like that, and you know, it's just all that shit, the story building of it all. And that's when it started getting like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I remember telling the guys, like in the throes of my vibes feeling that years ago, where I was just like, I just don't feel like doing this anymore. Just because it's like, I didn't come here to make a place realistic. I just came here to escape, right? Pure escapism, for escapism's sake. But then, the next reason started to happen. I felt like I had to do it. Like some divine thing wants me to do it. And that's the best way I can describe it. It's like, I feel as if something really, really needs this. Either it's just one person existing in this world that'll trigger them to do something, or it's a giant swath of people. I don't have a clue, but I do feel like I have to do this. I've been given more than my fair share of what I would consider divine intervention. I've been given more than my fair share of like the hand of God. You know what I mean? Like guiding, directing, pointing, opening my eyes to certain things, making me go down a road to fall down and say, okay, see, now go back. That's all I've been feeling. And it's been driving me. And the next big reason why I'm doing this is because it keeps me who I really am. It's like, I'm not playing the whole, like, okay, like, let's get into the political bullshit in the world and so we can kind of foggy your mind up. Let's kind of start caring about materialistic, like, it's allowing me to stay away from all this, like, distracting bullshit that these people like to build up so you can keep looking at me like, oh, you're right, that person should have more rights than that one, you know, or whatever the fuck. That we should all be mad because of this thing happening, and gay rights, you know, like, that's the thing that's a distraction. It's all bullshit. None of it matters. It's just a game, and you're playing a part of it, and it's not a game of God, it's a game of man, right? They're the ones doing this. So it allows me to stay who I really am. And because of that, as another really big reason, is it allows me to kind of see the world through my own eyes, not the eyes that I'm being told to have. You need to feel bad because you're white. You need to feel this. You need to feel that. You need to fucking make sure that you do this, and you know that. I have none of that. I'm looking at the world the way I see it, and it's like liberating to be your own free person. You're not a slave to anything. People don't realize that, but you're a slave right now when it comes to what people want you to believe, or what you should think and what you should and shouldn't say. Like, your mind. You're allowed to do whatever. You don't have to do anything that anyone tells you to do. This book has allowed me to see that. It has allowed me to find who I really am in my own time. You know what I mean? I don't have to like, okay, so it's 2023, here are the 10 topics that you should know going into the year. Like, I don't have that guidebook. So I'm just kind of hanging out and discovering things that people are probably like, are you kidding me? Everyone knows that. I'm like, yeah, but like, I didn't, and now I do, and I don't like it, you know, or whatever it is. I'm not going to give examples because I'm not good at it. I just feel a step behind, but because I'm a step behind, I feel a little bit like I'm walking into it with my eyes open instead of like having someone hold my hand, like, I'll just walk you through it, we'll go. Like, it's liberating in that sense. And that right there has allowed me to have a sense of true self, like who I really, really am. For the longest time, intermingled with this happenings of the book, which has become my life, along with the road that it's been traveled, it's kind of shown. So in the beginning, I would feel like an alien. I'd be like, wow, I'm the dumb one. I think I said it in a few videos. You know, I thought I was stupid and like everyone else got it, and I'm just sitting here like a fucking idiot, not understanding how to be alive. And I would just feel like that. And as I kind of, you know, get on or whatever, I'm starting to realize, like, no, it's because you're not allowing others to tell you what to and what to not. And how and whys and you know, think this and believe that and feel bad about this and feel good about that. Since I don't allow that, I have to find it myself. And I never realized that's why I felt like an alien. Because I was searching my own world. And going into the book, searching through my own world made me want to create it even more. And see it and draw it. And then during the whatever it was, the COVID thing, I mean, my life didn't really change. I went to work every fucking day. I just worked at the night shift. I really wanted to draw the map. And then that first map I did, well, technically the second map, that's when that happened. Because I wanted to see this place. I wanted to, like, you know, you could want to escape away from the real world. But for me, jumping into this book was allowing me to find my real self. And how I really identify the world. On the outside, sure, it looks like people are all scared and it's a bad time and you're trying to escape and feel better. So you make up a world to hide in. I could understand that you could see it that way. Even I thought it like that for a while. But I think it really was like me finding answers within that. Within myself. You know, I draw this map and I draw a part of me. And I explore that. And so that's when the book really started to pick up. I mean, it had been going on for what, 8, 9 years at that point? Then it started to really fucking pick up. And I decided to make it a point to say, I'm gonna fucking say what I think this shit is. Finally, I'm not gonna hide anymore and say like, oh, I'll pretend to believe what they believe, you know, and this and that. No more. I'm going to believe what I fucking believe. And that's when it started. The beginning of this channel is months after I was like doing that. I decided to say, fuck it, let's go. We're gonna make our, for good or for bad, we're gonna make a statement about what we think this might be. And in that, there was so much unnamed things and so many cultures undiscovered and so many places unborn and peoples without a voice. And so what I had to do was look to history and say, okay, well, like, let's kind of use our real history as like the archetype, if you will. Those are real human experiences. If I can deter, or even like, I wouldn't necessarily say copy, because it's more like I'm looking at human experiences based on their cultural influence, right? And there's a common thread through it all, is what I've realized. And I try to stay honest to that. So my idea was, each culture that I have in the book is a culture that, or a cluster of cultures that I admire in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I didn't know why. I just thought, like, I just like fucking Celtic stuff. And it's so funny because that's not even deep anymore. Like, I remember when I thought, like, oh, nobody knows about the Celts. That's like the surface level shit of this book. I've gone so much deeper than that, you know? which I'll get to, but, and I just said I like Assyrians, you know, I love the Hittites and shit. The Greeks, I was always just, there's something about the Greeks that I'm just, at least I thought, you know, it's actually much deeper than that, but, and then finally, like, oh, like the Valakmir people, Finnish. But I saw that they had some sort of connection, all of them. And it wasn't until recently that I'm starting to look into, merely on accident, history that I didn't really know existed because it's been hidden. Whether it's hidden with malice or just forgotten, I don't know. You know, I'm not gonna assume the Jews hid it, you know, or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was that fact. That's where I'm at. I'm just on the fence about it. Like, that's not, I don't care about that. I'm not going to be surprised if there's a race of people in this world that are trying to subdue another. That's like, seems to be the going trend. Now, what I've discovered, what I've been discovering, and I'm seeking to discover, and which is allowing me to really hone in on all these races, is these ancient people that were that aren't talked about, and they just happen to be people that look a little similar to me, you know, the gray eyes and the fucking face shape and the color of my skin. Though my hair is darker, though I'm not fucking very tall, they share that, and it's like that's possibly ancestry. These people that came from the Caucasus Mountains, these people that, these Indo-European people that were just kind of like, corded ware people. You know what I mean? Like, there's more to it. And I'm just like, I've learned about the Scythians and the Phrygians and, like, the Thracian people, if you will, the people of the Thracians and, like, the Hellenistic people. It's opened up my mind to, like, holy fuck. This root of people, this humble root of people that have been tainted going forward until the very day now, those people that are quite possibly descendants of are the people that are being ganged up on right now. Still. Like, it's still happening. No longer does the book feel like, oh, I could just do this. It's more like I have to. Is it carrying coded messages within it? A little bit. You know, a little bit. Not too much, but enough. Does it have real life experiences in it just from me? Of course. Of course it does. Is the book a vessel through which you can traverse through my mind? Yeah, absolutely. This became to me something more than what anyone will ever give it credit for. That's, to me, the true power of fantasy. Now, a lot of people will discredit fantasy, and that's just because, you know, it's not real. Even people that really enjoy history will never see, not all of them, I'll say that, but they won't see the true implications that it can have within it. And because of that, I've given myself I've made sure that I wear the heavy burden of keeping it honest. I'm trying to actively make sure that I take care of every loose end within it. I make sure every message is exactly where it needs to be, and I'm trying to make sure that every aspect of the book is as honest as I can make it with the way I view it. There are aspects from which I am placing cultural identifications within a groups of people. I'm okay with saying that the book here, I don't really see a lot of racial diversity. And that's fine, because that's not what the book's for. The book's not for gathering the cattle, you know, and saying you're all the same. It's for saying, like, you've been oppressed for so long, let's change that a little bit. Are people going to get it? No, that's fear. That's just what's going to happen. And that's fine. It's not... As long as the fear doesn't enter the book. You know, the fear is trapped within, but as long as it doesn't enter it, or exit it, that's all that really matters to me. The cultural identification is clear. But as for, I would say, maybe the spiritual message, that is one in which I am very delicate with. I can't fuck that up. You know what I mean? I'm trying to just think how I can word this. In the case of the Whisper, in the case of the Promise, or the Forgotten King, or of just what this world is, and the realm of life, astral, the dream, fear, love, the true spiritual essence of this book has been a very long and arduous journey to discover and decipher what exactly that is. In my mind, we've all been influenced by others. Everything we've ever said, thought, made in our minds, consciously or unconsciously, is most likely directed from another. Now, it's okay because inside of our mind we're supposed to decipher and deter, or to like include, or whatever you need to do for this information. I find myself a library, an information gatherer. Most of the time I don't really spit out a lot of opinions with groups of people. I'm the quiet one usually. I'm the one just nodding, because I'm taking all of their information and I will go process it later and to see what maybe I could discern from it. That's just who I fucking am. That's just what I do. Think. Now, in the aspects of the book, thinking, everything that I've stumbled upon in my search for what is God has led me to many fucking roads. And I just, in my mind, I'm trying to map the roads out, explain what I think is going on, and just go like, I don't know though. That's what the Whisper is. And that's what the Forgotten King is. And it could even just be cultural things. Like, for instance, what I believe. I believe that there was a deluge. I believe there was a giant flood that wiped out an entire group of civilizations spread throughout the world. And I believe that we picked the pieces back up from it. I also believe that there's aspects of these people that we looked at as godly, and so they become demigods or gods themselves, just because of how it would have seemed through them. But even above that, I believe that there was a pantheon of gods sitting above these fucking people that maybe shouldn't have been here in the first place. Or maybe they should have. Depends on who sees it. But I made an argument for both. And they made these people. And these people, that's why we're all different. That's why mixing seems to be causing issues, even though we don't see it that way. Maybe we have issues when it comes to, like, why does culture matter? Even though we pretend it doesn't, it kind of fucking does. Like, people get lost if they don't have that. Anyway, and I believe that because of that, certain darknesses have risen. But I also believe that this universe isn't what we think it is. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the earth is flat, but I'm going to tell you I don't know what anything is. And the discerning of like what things are, like, well, we found out that the fucking these waves exist, and that's what created that, and we found that the I don't know, whatever, black matter is this and that, you know, the scientific understanding of life. I found that that does not take away a creator. And I've always believed that there's a creator and his created that have created creations. So that's just how I've always been like looking at it. So to make it simple, creator has made created. And then they created things to make creations. And the ones down here are us. There's tears to this shit. There has to be tears to this shit. I know that that's not a belief that, it's almost pagan, I guess you could say. But I don't even think paganism goes deep enough into it, man. Like, I think, like, yeah, that's scratching the surface, you know. But within that is the creation of my world. And if I can create the worlds with that understanding of what I think may be happening, and then mix that with what my life experience says about my life, and mix it with the cultural things that I've been really getting into, this ancient stuff, and put it in this pot and say, okay, we're gonna stir it, and then out comes this world. We could just call it a straight metaphor. We could call it allegory, which is a little different than a metaphor. But to me, it's like, it's truth, but it's my truth. When I go in here and I feel as if I'm searching for information, I always find it in the book. It's always in there. It's only mine. I made it. Like, it's not like some angel came down and was like, here you go, brother, here's a book. Like, no, it was mine. Like, I put everything into it. Me and Jacob and Kevin, of course, and Brent and Billy to their degrees, but we put something in there. So why does it have information? Why does it have this kind of eerie similarity to things? You think you make something up and you found it really happened. You like, and not the small stuff, not the little things like, oh, that's a coincidence that he was wearing green too. I'm talking about the deep things that not a lot of people know about. Like, what is the other world? What is, like, my belief can all of a sudden I look back and like, oh yeah, ancient pagans used to believe that, and the Scythians and all that, like, the whole fuck, like, it's things like that. I mean, like, nothing surface level. Like, oh, I call them Teutonic Knights, and I found that that's what they were called. Like, no, that's like the easy. I don't even think about that stuff. My stuff is the deep things, the spiritual elements of it. Why was I guided to this point? What brought me here? That's where I think fantasy's not taken too seriously. It's not looked at as like a valuable art form. Because if you think about it like this, there's a couple aspects of this. If the world were to like just slowly decay, right, culturally, and we go into a dark age and everything's forgotten, I'm not gonna know when I want to have a peanut butter cup how to make a fucking peanut butter cup out of like nothing. So that art form will be lost. Certain people will remember it and they'll keep it and they'll go, and that's where cultures can be created from that. Just that one little peanut butter cup. I'm gonna want to talk in a video, but when the power goes out, I don't know how to make power. Like, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but someone else will, and he'll go over there and he'll keep that alive. And everything else, I don't know. Like, just the skill that we don't need. Like, I don't know how to work on my vehicle. unless someone shows me. So if people go away and culture fails and we go into this fucking dark age, I'm gonna be like, well, fuck the vehicle, because I don't know how to fix that. And that skill will go away. That's why writing disappears. Like, we don't got time to be writing shit down. We're fighting right now. We're trying to survive. That'll happen. But I think things will be found again. Like I said, certain cultures will be formed. The people that remembered how to keep TVs going. The people that remember how to fucking, I don't know, like program video games and shit. Like, they'll be like, what the fuck, look at this ancient thing. They simulated life through this. Like, and they won't know the repercussions of that. They won't know, like, this was just a fun Call of Duty game. They'll think, like, this must have been a simulation for combat that they used in the United States Army. Like, you know, like, they'll deter things because they don't know. But when it comes to fantasy, mythology, which is what it really is, when they find that again, they'll say, those must have been stories for, like, either enjoyment, stories to teach people, stories to guide a consciousness, to say, like, don't do this, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, virtuous stories for the human experience. But they won't see how those stories were made. If this book and this whole lore and the world and the maps and the pictures and all these videos are found with no context, none. The only thing you know about the world around you is that the sun goes up and down, but you find all this. Wouldn't you kind of think, like, that must have been what it was like? He must be talking about the past. He must be talking about the world in the past, before this great storm happened. You wouldn't really know. But then you'd be like, I don't know, it doesn't seem real. Like, how are people able to do these things? Why did the land look like that? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't look like that right now. Where is this land? Maybe it's Hyperborea, maybe it's not real, you know, and then you'll start to do that. But then over time, the catalyst to that will say, fucking fake. We've discovered everything. That's all fake. That must have been fun little stories that they told each other in the night. And then it won't have its significance. And then it becomes just a fun, oh, the Odyssey and the Iliad? That's cool. Anyway, let's talk about science. That's what it'll turn into. But go way back. Come to this point with me and say, and hear me say what I just said about why I'm making the book. Like, I'm trying to find the world within another. And I'm trying to see just what it's really about. Through the stories, can I find the answer? Because the stories are human. And each individual person has their own story. And there's sometimes we have cultures of people. And they have stories as well. There have been groups of people that have been wiped out and won't even know about it. That had such significance on us, but we'll never know. What happens if you go into a place that's not real and you do that? What can you find? Thusly, this story has opened my eyes to a history I didn't even know happened. That's what this book has done. Like, it's just, it started with a, wouldn't it be fun? And it turned into, like, holy shit, I didn't know that really happened in history. I've been lied to. It's just been an eye-opening experience. To me, it's godly. This is holy, like this experience to me. That's what will be forgot when it comes to down the line, right? When we pick up the stories of the ancient Sumerians talking about a time before, where we pick up the Celtic stories that we think may be still real because they never wrote anything down, or the Egyptians, or we hear about any other ancient culture describing the past, like they were in their times talking about, man, back in the day it was nuts, like, and we don't really think anything of that. You know, if you read the Odyssey and you think it's just a fun story, if anything, or best case, a mythology of how to be a, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, here's the virtue of life, here's the understanding of this, here's that, you know, guiding tools to become a better man, you know, this and that. Which I'm not saying it isn't, but if you just say that's all it is, like, it's rather interesting. If, like, I finish all this stuff and someone's like, yeah, he must have wrote that book because he wanted to show what the white race was, and he wanted, you know, or whatever people deter from it at that point in the future. He wanted to show that the Jews were this or that, I don't know. I would be kind of like, wow, people are stupid. Like, if that's all they get. I think storytelling, mythology telling, is something priestly. It's something religious. I think that's what it is. We've kind of confused it now. It's either fact or fiction, is kind of how it is these days. It's like either these are real stories that really happened, or they're real metaphors that are describing how to be a good person, you know. That seems to be the narrow mind that people have about it. And what I'm doing is no different than maybe what the ancients were doing with their creation myths. Maybe not. Maybe those events, like I was saying, really did happen. But just because something really did happen doesn't mean you can't kind of create a fiction around it. Look at the fucking movies that you see nowadays, based on true events. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, maybe like the guy handing in the piece of paper was real, but the fucking gunfight wasn't. You know, shit like that. I don't really know at the end of the day. I can say all this stuff, but at the end of the day, I don't know what the point of all this is. I ask myself regularly, like, why do I have this on YouTube? Why the fuck is it? Why am I showing all this? Selfishly, am I ruining the book? Am I showing that maybe I'm insane? I don't know what I'm doing. I have no agenda. That's why the name's changed a few times. Now it's called Just a Myth. I'm like, I don't fucking know. That's what it is. Because I myself am lost at times when it comes to doing this. I'll sit down. Right now I'm sitting down, about to work on the Hafel. But I'm just so engrossed sometimes. It's so overwhelming that it's like, I have no fucking clue what's happening. What the fuck is happening right now? Why am I doing this? Why does this matter? Am I wasting my time and getting lost in the details? The prelude to the trade war videos. Am I doing something wrong or am I doing something right? And the thing about like the divine hand sometimes, it won't tell you. It won't be like, I'll give you a hint. It'll just keep you going. Let you go astray just long enough to think that, oh, maybe I was wrong, and then it pushes you back. You're like, or was I? Or is this a test? Like, that's what it feels like. That's how I've been feeling with this book. I'm just like, what in the fuck is going on? And how do I even escape it? My entire 20s have been devoted to this book. Why? You know, Jesse Ventura, why? I don't know why. You're telling me that you're gonna write a book and never finish it for 11 years? Is that what you're telling me? Why? That's how I feel all the time about this. Am I doing something stupid? Or am I doing something good? Am I doing this to show myself at age 60 that, there you go, you wasted all those years. Now you learned your lesson. Don't covet things that aren't real. Is that going to happen? I don't know. I hope the fuck not. That'd be a scary revelation. I publish it and then everyone like puts me on a black book list or something because it's racially charged or whatever they think. I don't know. There's a lot of anti-Semitism in it. I'm like, I never even once said Jew. You know, they don't even exist in the book. There's no black people in the book. Like, I don't know. I'm not that color. I'm not going to make things up. like that, I don't know. I really wouldn't know what is going to happen. Heck, not a clue. Hand to God, I wish I could say, but I'm going to continue to go down this road and hope to God it's alright. Because that's kind of what it feels like. It's almost like, alright, here we go. Like, no one's saying no. And I'm just driving, and then all of a sudden the road looks like shit. I'm like, oh, fuck, that's why no one's down here. I want to take it on as perhaps maybe I'm going somewhere where people might be afraid to. Maybe we can talk about things that are a little bit deeper. That's been one major thing that I've learned in my life is, what is deep? I keep, oh man, that's deep. But the deeper you go, you're like, no, it's not. It's not deep at all. He literally just said, like, sometimes people care about others and they pretend they don't. Damn. Like, it's like, no, that's not deep. When you get deeper in life, you know? And I feel like I'm trying to find the source, which is God, right? Through this book is a person, a man, trying to find his faith. I don't know why it took creating, but it did. But maybe there's something more to it. Maybe the creation of these people, this land, this history, this entire encompassing history, maybe there's life there. Whether it's in my mind or whether it's somewhere fucking else. What if it's there? What if this is how it begins and how it ends? What if this is what they meant when they said that? What if life is more than, like, how would I word that? What if life is merely but a reflection? Like, what if, you know? I don't know, I couldn't say yes or no, but what if that's the point? If you look at the map, and let's just look at it for a minute, and you just look and say, there are people that live there. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Living, experiencing. Cultures exist there. Massive cultures. Giant divides of people. Conflicts. There are ships traveling the waters. There are trade caravans on the roads. There are people buying things in the markets. There are others in their home sitting. Some people are getting yelled at by their mothers right now. They're all existing. There are skirmishes in the mountains over resources. There is lands that have been tainted by a curse. There are people trying to rise up and become what they thought they should have been. There are other people that are trying to destroy groups of people because they shouldn't exist. There are lands that have been swallowed by storms. There are places to which the great writers of society have never even ventured. There are areas to have such heights, yet such great civilizations it would seem impossible. There are lands undiscovered and unmapped, not because no one's done it, but because they can't. And there are places that exist that your wildest imagination would never believe what could be there too. There are places where kings sit on their thrones with their retinue around them, faces painted, looking mad, inbred, sitting there giggling. There are places where great kings are making decisions about what the world should and should not be. There are hidden kings who are deciding which ones should have the crown and which ones should not. There are people that call themselves kings but are not kings. There are kings of thoughts and there are kings of dirt. And there are lands that are a mire and a mystery to which no one could ever understand truly what lies beneath it. That all exists in there. Those aren't just things. Those are things that me and my friends made, right? Why? No, like, why is it? Is there really life there? Can that really be? Could it be? If there, then what if within there? If I made that world, and someone within that world made another world, is that not the same thing? The writer to my story, is that not a god? At least I would see it that way. Whenever I describe the creator in the book, I think of me. You know what I mean? Because I am. Or am I? Am I merely acting through him? Is the creator even above me? Did God create this fake world as well? And I'm merely just the messenger? Those are the aspects that I try to explore in the book. All of that. And that's why it's taken so long. That's the whole reason. It's like, why 11 years? Because, man, like, there are so many unanswered questions, and I've only answered a few thousand, and I still have a lot more questions. But I wanted to give this video to talk about why am I writing the book. I don't feel like I covered it very well, but I talked long enough for things to be thought about. In case anyone's ever curious. I think there's something to this. I think there's something very spiritual here. And I wish I could tell you in like 5 seconds. The reason I'm writing the book is because of Vic, but I don't know yet. I'm only 31. The journey's just begun. But man, I'm mesmerized every time I look at that map. I don't know how I did that. That shit's crazy to me. I am not an artist, and I somehow managed that. That's what I always know. There's divinity, man. There is a divinity that can touch you and you can just fucking, you can light up. It's very spiritual, for me at least. But anyway, that's that, I suppose. And this tiny update right here, I'm just gonna keep on doing the Hafal thing, and I'll release that video once I can feel comfortable enough. You know, I'm just trying to find their story. That's all I'm doing right now. Like, who are they? But anyway.